Welcome to the IELTS Speaking mini course. Over the next few lessons, you'll discover what examiners look for in Band 7, 8 and 9 performances. These are the same techniques that have helped thousands of our VIP students get a Band 7, 8 and even 9. Below you will find two buttons. The blue button will take you to the free speaking mini course. But for those of you who want to upgrade to VIP right away, click the red button. If you have any questions while doing the free course, please always feel free to contact us. You are now part of the IELTS Advantage community and our team are there waiting to help you. If you want to contact us, just reply to any.
Hi everyone, Chris here from IELTS Advantage and welcome to our speaking challenge. Over the next 3 lessons, what we intend to do is help you improve your speaking ability to a Band 7, 8 or even 9. So let's get going. What are we going to do in this challenge? So there are 3 videos and we're going to make it really simple. What we're going to do in video 1 is focus on part 1 of the speaking test, video 2, part 2 of the speaking test, and video 3, part 3 of the speaking test. The examiner is going to be judging your whole performance, the totality of your performance. So you can't just focus on one part. You need to become proficient and be aware of all of the things that you need to do in each part. And the thing about IELTS is each part is different. They're testing different things, different types of questions. So we're going to look at each of these individually. And then at the end of each video, we're going to set you a challenge. So there's no point in sitting and looking at a video. You could look at every single video related to IELTS in the world, but there are thousands and thousands of videos online on YouTube. And they're just really the first step. You need to do these things. So we're going to set you a challenge at the end of these videos to get you to do the things that you have learned in the video, and then you're going to improve. But not only that, we're going to get you to send us your challenges, send us your tasks, and then we'll give you feedback and you'll be able to improve even more. Our mission at IELTS Advantage is to help people improve their IELTS scores, and we will do everything we can in this short 3-day, 3-video challenge to help you improve your IELTS scores. But if you need anything else, if you need help with writing, reading, listening, always feel free to just hit reply to any of our emails. We respond to every single email that you send us, and we'll help you out as much as we can if you have any questions or need help with technology. Okay, so part 1, what are we going to do in this lesson? We're going to look at what part 1 is. It's really important that you understand the types of questions being asked that the examination is thinking about. What not to worry about, alright? In the speaking test, it's really important that you only focus on the things that actually matter. Because if you go into the speaking test and you're worried about all the things that don't matter, then that's going to affect your performance. It's going to definitely affect your fluency, but it could also affect your grammar, your vocabulary, even your pronunciation. So we just want you worrying about the things that you can actually do better. We'll look at common mistakes. If you can avoid these common mistakes, then you're going to do much better. And then we're also going to look at a real student who got a Band 8 on our speaking test and show you some good answers and answers that could be improved to really demonstrate what needs to be done. And finally, I'm going to give you that challenge. Okay, so what is part 1? The most important thing to remember about part 1 is it is about you. They're not going to be asking you questions about general knowledge or abstract ideas. They're just going to be asking you questions like your home time, whether you study, what your job is, your likes and dislikes, what you do in your free time. So the best way to think about this is, imagine you started a new job or started a new English class and you met a person for the first time. Just small talk, everyday chit chat, just getting to know someone. And that is all they're going to ask you about. Now they might throw in a few more usual questions, like I've asked people about their favorite hat or their favorite color. What does that have to do with anything? They will throw a few strange topics at you to test your ability, but I wouldn't worry about that. Remember that every answer is you talking about you. So the important thing is you can't get it wrong. It's impossible to get any part of the question wrong because they are asking about you. You know more about you than anybody else. This part will last about 4 to 5 minutes, and they start off with quite easy questions, like tell me about your weekend, what you do in your free time, what your job is, or where do you live, your neighborhood. These are quite easy questions because they don't want to immediately start with really difficult questions because they want you to warm up and ease into this. Now that doesn't mean that these questions are not important. Remember, you're being judged on all of your answers in total, so don't think that you can ignore these questions or not practice them. They are very, very important, but it will only last a little bit. An examiner will ask you a range of questions, so they definitely will ask you about either your hometown, or your job, or your studies, or your home, and then they might ask you a few other questions, but remember, they're just about okay. So do not worry about it. So think about your brain as a computer. So a computer has a CPU, it has memory, it has RAM, and what happens when you open up too many tabs or too many programs at the same time? Your computer slows down, doesn't perform very well. Your brain is exactly the same. If you're going into the test and you're worrying about 20 different things, and you're thinking about 20 different things at the same time, then your brain is going to slow down. Your brain powers your mouth, which is going to produce the sound, produce the words, produce the sentences. Your brain is not working optimally because there are too many things going on. You're not going to perform very well. I have worked with students who should have got a band 8, should have got a band 9, but because their teacher was teaching them lots of things to worry about that they didn't actually have to worry about, they only got a band 6 band 5 because they were really suffering when it came to their fluency, their pronunciation, their grammar. So here are things not to worry about. This might sound really silly. You don't have to worry about your clothes. I've seen so many articles online talking about what clothes you should wear, what shoes you should wear. It doesn't matter. They're judging your speaking, not your shoes. Shoes. Greetings. The most popular speaking video related to IELTS on YouTube is how to greet the examiner. It has millions and millions of views, and it doesn't matter. You are not being judged on whether you shake their hand or what you say to them. The actual test does not start until the questions begin. Okay, so don't worry about reading the examiner. It doesn't matter what you say to them; they don't care. It's like talking to someone at McDonald's. All they want to do is serve you and move on to the next question. Don't worry about the examiner. Don't worry if the examiner is not friendly. It is not their job to be your friend. It is not their job to make you happy. It is their job to listen to you and to give you an accurate band score. Some examiners will be friendly. Some examiners will be very professional, not too friendly, but not angry with you, or they don't look upset. Some examiners will look upset, or they will look angry. It doesn't mean they are angry with you, or they are upset with you. Maybe just had a long day. They are human beings, or maybe they're just focusing on your pronunciation, your fluency, your grammar, your vocabulary. So often students that we work with on our VIP course, we work with them very, very closely, and they would email us after their speaking test and they'd say, oh God, Chris, I failed, my examiner looked very angry. Don't worry about that. That doesn't mean anything related to your actual score. So talk to the examiner, no matter whether they look happy or sad, as if you're talking to a friend or a family member. Just put yourself in that sort of frame of mind. Hand gestures. I use hand gestures all the time. Some people don't use hand gestures at all. Doesn't matter. You are not being judged on whether you use your hands or not. And so don't worry about that at all. Eye contact. Doesn't matter if you stare at the examiner all the time or you look at your feet. It doesn't matter. The words that come out of your mouth. Now, the examiner is a human being. You're a human being. So just talk to them like a normal human being. How would you use eye contact? Normally. How would you use hand gestures? Normally. How would you use body language? Normally. You don't get a score for body language, eye contact, or hand gestures, and any teacher that tells you that you do, please just show them the official marking criteria and ask them where it says anything related to them. It's nonsense. But just use these as you would normally use them. So these are things that you do not need to worry about. But imagine going into the test, and this happens a lot, thinking about what body language should I use, eye contact, hand gestures. I hope that the examiner is happy to see me. I hope that I greeted them the right way. Did I say that thing that that girl on YouTube told me to say? And how are my clothes and my shoes? I hope that respecting the examiner, none of that matters. If you're thinking about that, you're not going to do very well. The only 4 things that you need to think about are pronunciation, fluency and coherence, grammar, and vocabulary. Why do you need to only worry about these things? These are the only 4 things that the examiner will think about. That's the only thing they're thinking about. Pronunciation, fluency and coherence, vocabulary, and grammar. So if you are totally focused on these things, you're going to do really well. If you're focused on any of these things, you're wasting your time. So most of the things that we will be talking about in this challenge will be related to these 4 things. This is how we teach people. We don't look at tips and tricks and hacks and things that don't work. We just teach you to give the examiners exactly what they need. Okay. So, common mistakes. These are things that you need to avoid. And if you avoid these in part 1, you're going to improve your score. So, this is the most frustrating part. Not too short, not too long. I'm sure you're thinking, oh, that's really horrible advice. Not too short, not too long. Why don't you just tell me an exact number or an exact number of sentences? Some teachers will do that, but I think that's quite bad advice. Because we don't want you to go into the test thinking, I need to use 3 sentences or I need to use 4 sentences, because you're making it more difficult to speak naturally. And you should be speaking as naturally as possible. You don't want to give a very short answer because you're not giving the examiner enough to really go on. Here's an example of a really, really short answer.
I'm studying. I'm studying in marketing.
So as you can see, Rashmi didn't give a very long answer. And that wasn't incorrect. The grammar was fine, the vocabulary was fine, the pronunciation was fine. But you're not giving the examiner enough to judge your performance of. Like if they said to me, what's your job? And I said, teacher. That's correct. I am a teacher. But it is not giving the examiner enough to really judge you. For part 1, you don't want your answer to be too long either. Why is that? Well, it's the examiner's job to ask you a range of different questions. They're going to ask you between like 9 and 12 questions. So if, and they only have like 4 or 5 minutes to do that, and they've got a queue of people outside waiting to come in and do the test, you have to get through all of those people. So if every answer is like 2 or 3 minutes long, they're going to keep stopping and stopping and stopping. And the problem with that is you're going to feel like you've got something wrong, you're going to feel a little bit stressed out by that, and then that can affect the rest of the performance. So again, not too short, not too long. What does that mean? Don't think about number of sentences, just answer the question and then give some extra detail for them to understand your answer. So instead of saying, I'm a teacher, they ask me what my job was, I would say, teacher and I specialize in teaching IELTS to students online, and I do that from my office here in Northern Ireland. So as you can see, I just elaborated a little bit. I added a little bit of detail. You could add detail, you could add an explanation, you could add an example, just a little bit more to go on. Don't think of number of sentences, just think of answer the question and add a little bit more to help the examiner understand what you're talking about. Robotic delivery. What do I mean by robotic delivery? So think about how you speak naturally. Think about talking to one of your best friends. How do you speak to them? You imagine they say, hey, what did you do last weekend? I went to the cinema, I saw this great movie, it was amazing. Very relaxed, very natural delivery. You wouldn't say, imagine your friend said, what did you do last weekend? You wouldn't say, I went to the cinema, I watched a movie, it was good. You would never do that. You'd be like, are you a robot? What happened to you? But this happens all the time. And I think it's because students respect the test and maybe respect the examiner and the formality of the situation a little bit, and they speak to the examiner like a robot, in a very slow, robotic way. And that is not how you would speak to a normal person. So why would you speak to an examiner like that? So again, imagine you were speaking to a friend, a colleague, a family member, how would you talk to them? That is going to help you improve fluency, but also it can freeze up your brain and you're more relaxed and you can avoid grammar mistakes, avoid vocabulary mistakes. And your pronunciation will be much smoother as well. It'll be easier to understand. Memorized answers. It's very, very tempting for part one to try and anticipate some common topics and think, okay, they're going to ask me about my hometown, they're going to ask me about my job, they're going to maybe ask me about my home, hobbies, and to write out a very detailed answer, lots of idioms and lots of phrasal verbs, some amazing vocabulary and amazing grammar. Don't do that. It is tempting to do that. I know why you want to do that, but the examiners are trained to spot them. They know that you would do it. So if you give, often it will happen where you will ask a student to talk about their hometown, and they give this amazing answer where they're talking about the architecture, the history of their town, and famous people that used to live there, and their favorite place there. It's all amazing. And the examiners are trained to ignore that answer because they know it's a memorized answer. And what they'll do is they will then ask you a more difficult question related to that topic. So if they say, tell me about your hometown, and you give a memorized answer, they'll say things like, is it a good place to bring up children? Or they'll say, what are the transportation links like to the rest of the country from now? And you'll be like, wasn't expecting that. They're not judging you on your memorized answer, they'll judge you on your, I wasn't expecting that, because that is your real ability. It is not a memorization test, it is a speaking test. So, next, trying to impress the examiner. This doesn't relate just to part one, this relates to every single part. The examiners are not stupid, they are trained professionals who have been trained to spot when you are trying to impress them or trying to show off. Examples of this are memorizing fancy vocabulary, memorizing fancy idioms, memorizing fancy grammar, memorizing anything in general, and trying to regurgitate this in the test. They're not judging you on what the fancy things you have memorized. They're judging you on your ability to actually speak. Why do we do the IELTS test? We do the IELTS test to test when we move to an English-speaking country, when we move to Canada, move to Australia, move to America, move to the UK, and we meet someone, can we talk to them? In your job, can you talk to them? And when you meet them socially, can you speak to people normally? Not trying to impress people with things you've memorized. They're judging you on your ability to naturally speak at your natural level, and they know how to do that. So memorizing things and trying to show off is a complete waste of time. They're not judging you on that, they're judging you on your ability to talk naturally. So, part one best practices. These are things that you need to put. These are things that you need to be aware of, that you need to practice feedback on. If you do all of these things, you will really improve and you will perform to the best of your ability. Okay, so next one. Part one, best practices. Natural. Alright, we've already talked about this. You're not in a memorization contest. You speak to the examiner like to a friend, your colleague, and speak as naturally as possible. Give reasons, or give explanations, or give examples, or give extra detail. That is going to help you develop an answer. So instead of saying, what do you do at the weekend? I went to the cinema. Which cinema did you go to? Why did you go there? Which movie did you see? What did you think about it? What's your character? You don't have to answer all of those questions, but those are just some examples that you could use to help you develop an answer by giving reasons for giving an answer. So you're not being judged just on fluency, you're also being judged on coherence. So what does coherence mean? Well, for the purposes of the speaking test, coherence means, did you actually answer the question? So if they asked you about what did you do last weekend, tell them what you did last weekend, not what you're going to do next weekend, or what you had for dinner last night. Like, you need to actually answer the question. That might sound really obvious and really straightforward, and because why are you telling us that? You would not believe the number of students who memorize a bunch of answers and then try and fit their answer that they have memorized to suit the question. Don't do that. Just answer the question. Do that. How do you do that? Literally answer the question and then develop your answer. You always answer the question if you follow me. We've already talked about this. Develop your answer by giving explanations, giving examples, giving extra detail, and talk about things specifically. Alright? When they ask you about a specific thing, don't talk generally about that topic. Actually answer the question that you're talking about. So if they ask you, for example, at your hometown, this is a good place to bring up children, don't talk about, the architecture from 1789 and the history and the founding father. That's not what they asked you. They asked you the specific question. Answer the specific question. And questions in part one are not difficult. So that should be pretty easy to do. But people don't do that because they prepare online answers. With examples, that is going to help you be as fluent as possible, and you will become fluent with practice, and you are not worried about all of these things that you don't have to worry about. We'll also talk a lot more about fluency in lessons 2. And grammar, don't try and use every single tense in the known language and every single grammar structure. Use the grammar and the tenses that are appropriate to use in the circumstances. So if they ask you, what did you do last weekend? You're going to use also past simple. If they say, how has your hometown changed in the last 20 years? Probably going to be using a mixture of present perfect, as simple. If they're asking you, how do you think your hometown will change in the future? You're going to use will, or it is going to. If they ask you, where's the best place to go to eat in your hometown? You're going to use imperatives and superlatives. So you shouldn't go in thinking, I'm going to use the past progressive function. Right? You don't go in thinking, I'm going to use all these different tenses and all of these different grammar structures. Just use the grammar that's appropriate to use in those circumstances. Don't overthink it. And don't try and think, I need to avoid every single grammar mistake possible. Even people who get a band 9 make small little grammar mistakes. Everybody does it. Native English speakers do it. I probably have done it in video. When you are talking, your brain is working so hard that you will make small little grammar mistakes. But what you want to avoid is overthinking grammar, and that is going to affect your fluency. Because if you think, agreement or which tense, you're going to really overthink it and you won't actually answer the question. The more you think about grammar, the lower your fluency is going to be. The less you think about grammar, the higher your fluency is going to be. And you'll probably make the exact same number of grammar mistakes. Avoid as many mistakes as you can, but don't overthink. So a really easy way to answer part one questions is answer the question with an explanation and give an example. You don't have to answer every single question like that. In fact, I would encourage you not to answer 100% of questions like that, because some of them you won't be able to think of an example, or some of them won't need an explanation. But if you practice using that, most of your answers you will be able to answer in that way. So, for example, if someone asks me about my degree, I studied law. Why did you study law? So what did you study? I studied law at university because I wanted to be a lawyer. So that's my explanation. And then I would give an example. So when I left, I became a lawyer, and I worked in the city of London as a commercial lawyer for about 3 years, and then decided to become a science teacher. It's a true story. Okay, so that's how you answer a question. You don't have to stick to that, but it'll help you think about it. Okay, now I want you to listen to a student who got a band 8 and listen to some of her answers. Some of them are really, really good answers. Some of them could do with a little bit of improvement, but I just want you to listen to them and think about her answers and how she has answered these questions. Go.
Yes, I do.
And what do you hope to do with that degree after finished?
Oh, I hope to work as a data scientist. Yeah.
Where would you like to travel to?
Oh, there are still a lot of places in India that I haven't seen, so I might go there as well. And I really like Bali, so Bali and Greece, yes.
Is traveling abroad very popular?
Oh yes, it is. It is quite popular. So people mostly go travel during the summer, but it's always summer in India. So yeah, I think movies have a huge role to play in it, because they show all these destinations where there's snow-covered mountains and all, and that's very fascinating for us because we don't really get snow, at least not where I come from.
So hopefully you were able to see Rashmi and her performance, and some things that she could have improved, and some things she did really, really well. But hopefully, by understanding this whole lesson and seeing what Rashmi did, Rashmi went on to get a band 8, which is amazing, in her speaking test, to show you exactly what you need to do. But watching this video is just the first step. The second step is completing the challenge. So let's jump into my computer, and we will show you exactly what to do for your challenge.
Okay guys, now it comes the fun part where you are going to record your speaking and send it to us. So your task, and this is really, really, really important. If you don't do this, then it is a complete waste of time, and you're not going to improve, and you're going to miss out on the chance to get better and get feedback on your work. Okay, so it is a really, really simple 4-step process that you're going to follow in order to record your voice and send it to us. So the first step, step 1, download a free voice recorder app for your phone. So if you are an Apple person, if you have an Apple phone, go to the App Store. If you have an Android phone, go to the Google Play Store. And on both of those stores, you're going to find hundreds and hundreds of free voice recorder apps that just make it really, really simple for you to hit a button and it automatically records your voice. Don't ask me which one to choose. There are too many to choose from. Just pick the one that you want to choose. It's not that difficult. So step 2 in the 4-step process, answer these questions and record your voice. So you should have a phone. You should have an app on your phone that records your voice. You're going to look at these questions and don't pre-prepare the questions. Don't research the questions. Just pretend that you are in the actual exam and you are reading the questions just like the same way that the examiner would be asking you. those questions. So look at the question, answer it. Second question, answer it. Third question, answer it. That's all you have to do. All right. So I'm going to show you the questions for part one. Okay. So here are 6 questions. Look at each of them, and then all you have to do is just hit record on your recording app, and that's all you have to do. Step 3, send it to us via email. So this is super simple to do. You can do this on your phone, you can do this on your desktop. So you will have my email address because I will have emailed you multiple times. So all you have to do is this. So imagine you are on Gmail, you could be on Yahoo, Hotmail, whatever. Just click the email that I sent you, click reply, and then attach the audio file to your email and just hit send. If you have any problems whatsoever, then my email address is chris@ieltsadvantage.com. Alright, this is my email address, chris@ieltsadvantage.com, but you will have received it many times. Okay, so now that you have sent us your recording, what I want you to do is just wait, have a look at your email inbox, and we will send you your feedback video right to your inbox. And then it's really important that you look at this feedback that we send to you so that you can really learn what to do and really improve.
So that's the end of lesson 1. I look forward to receiving your challenges and then giving you feedback on them. And I'll see you in lesson 2, where we'll look at part 2. Thanks very much. Bye-bye. Hi everyone, Chris here from